Welcome everyone to your monthly dose of Ashes of Creation updates. Today's topics include, but are not limited to, the following: new areas in the game, new enemies, weapons, new abilities, cross-class synergy, damage types and how they affect enemies, constellations, and the night and day cycle. So let's get right into it. We are kicking things off with these three adventurers on their mounts, who are exploring a new and never seen before area located in the Riverlands biome and near the Alpine Forest. This is a very traditional party, consisting of a Pirate Fighter, an Empyrean Ranger, and a Vec Cleric, and as such, occupying all the Holy Trinity positions of Tank, DPS and Healer. Now, before exploring anything, we will preface this with the usual speech. What you're about to see is a work in progress towards Alpha 2. The art, performance, gameplay, and many other aspects of the game will get better with time, so just bear that in mind. Oh, and the strength of the mobs is also placeholder for now. The balancing aspect of the game will be adjusted a bit later down the line, so if you think the game might be too easy, don't worry about that. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this area is near the Alpine Forest, and as such, we are currently at a higher elevation than normal. The reason for that is because we will need a good vantage point for the stars and any visible constellations that might appear. But more on that later. So, first things first, the Cleric is in the spotlight today, along with some new weapons, namely the two-handed staff and a one-handed mace and shield combo. Additionally, we also get 4 new Cleric spells. Now, the first victims that the party encounters in the area are some unlucky skinwalkers, and for the veterans out there, you might notice that they share the same name with one of the in-game mounts. Well, that's because in Ashes, mounts can be found and tamed in the wild. In their current state as an enemy though, they only pose significant danger as a pack, so you might want to pull only a few at a time. As soon as combat starts, the most important thing we are shown today is the synergy between two abilities, the Fighter's Whirlwind and the Cleric's Chains of Restraint. This works in a simple way. The Whirlwind staggers the enemies, and that crowd control gets upgraded to a stun effect under the Cleric's Chains. As a quick explanation, a stagger state means that the enemy may not use abilities, but they can still do basic attack functions, while in the stun condition, the enemy cannot take any actions at all.
Basically, it sets up a status effect. You can see a little bit of a VFX over his head, and then, as you see there, Steven followed up with chains that triggers a stun on any target under that effect already.
Moving further, the squad enters the cemetery area, which will represent the vantage point that I mentioned earlier. But first, the new undead enemies will want to introduce themselves.
They're starting to move towards me.
Though. You can kite these a little.
Oh my god!
Never mind.
What the heck was that?
So much for kiting. Alright, get ready. See if you can drop a stun on them. Or is it on cooldown?
Nope, I got it.
Alright, nice.
Oh no, I accidentally canceled it. Oh god! Hold on, group heal. There we go. Okay, we're doing okay.
Now, you know, not the most stellar gameplay from Steven, but I'm sure you guys get the idea. Now, on that last Skinwalker, we can see another interesting aspect of the Cleric. Its main single target heal, called Judgment, can also be used on enemies as a damaging spell. Additionally, as a mechanic for the Cleric, doing that generates Conviction. Conviction is a new class resource, and the Cleric can generate it with certain abilities under certain conditions. This conviction seems to buff the Cleric's healing spells at the moment, but who knows, maybe further down the line it might get more complex. Next, it's time to speed up time in order to see the day and night cycle and the new constellations. Day and night cycles in Ashes of Creation span over the course of a few hours.
Ooh. Oh, and the moon changed positions. It's now dead up, and we see another one of the moons. Now, of course, as you guys may know, this is, of course, a work in progress, right? We're working towards our Alpha 2, so some of this stuff will likely change, especially on the art side. But I love what the new skybox is doing, and I mean, it's just visually great. The ambience, of course, changes now to include a different nighttime feel to it. And the lighting actually...
And constellations have multiple purposes over different systems of the game. For example, on the narrative side, on mechanics like acquiring certain types of relics for your node, or on empowering certain abilities or items that a player has access to. After this, Steven blesses us, literally, with the next Cleric spell.
Sorry.
I've got a buff beforehand. for
Let's
us.
do this.
I think that'll wear off long before we get to use it.
And soon after, we get to see all the new shiny abilities in action, with the final one, the Cleansing Wave, being barely noticeable as it's an instant cast.
Ooh, aggroed a lot more than one.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god!
But no worries, under the influence of the Conviction buff, we get to actually see it.
Oh, and now you can see because I have convictions, my cleansing wave actually bounced to an additional target.
Now, it's also worth mentioning that the zombies have some pretty cool spawning mechanics.
Leroy! Oh god.
Oh,
No, no, no. Not like this.
all right.
Oh no, no, you're dead.
gotta commit.
You are going to die. There is nothing I can do for you. Oh my god.
Focus the scholars.
There's
the zombies
more of
already
them.
down.
The scholars first.
In past streams, the team mentioned how they wouldn't want big portions of land just being covered by monsters, so we should expect to see this kind of surprise mechanic from the mobs pretty often. Next up, we get to see a pretty simple but important ability, namely active blocking, which is pretty self-explanatory.
I have my active blocks up.
Oh boy.
There's a lot. Okay, he doesn't seem to be doing much damage to me, but of course it would normally consume stamina. Is that correct, Trent?
That depends. We're still kind of discussing our resource systems, but you know that is one thing that we could potentially explore.
The next topic is about damage types and elements. Basically, there will be different damage types in the game, which can be strong or weak against certain enemy types. That means players will have to be somewhat smart about these interactions, as certain abilities or specs will do better into certain scenarios. Obviously, with the mention that all content will be still doable. A simple example is going against these zombies, which are undead enemies, and as such, they will be weaker to the Cleric's holy magic compared to something like the Ranger's nature damage, for example. And with that, we will move on to the character art section, which will be a short one this month. First off, we've got some updated versions for the two-handed staff and the one-handed shield and mace combo, plus the weapons we've just seen in-game. We also get to see a work in progress for the mobs called Goblin Slavers.
These slavers have a particular type of interaction mechanic where instead of killing the player, they can subdue the player, drag them to a cage, and then there's a little mini game trying to get out of the cage, or other players can try to get you out of their cage, right? Because they're capturing you to try to take you off to be, slaves. But that's what these guys do. They're set up to do in the starting area. Give us your feedback on that too.
On the same topic, we also have the zombie scholars, which we also saw in the earlier demo when Steven and the squad got attacked by them. These were the caster mobs, which attacked from afar with necrotic balls. Next up is the winter Nith.
Just real quick, what
go
I would
ahead.
love for the NIF to have, if possible, on the animation side,
Okay,
is those
animators.
goats. Yes, animators. The goats that when you scare them, their legs lock up and they fall over. If
Oh.
that was just a just a little animation that this guy did, that'd be great.
And last but not least, we got the cultist.
The early days on Vera with the return were not super easy. And some of them decided that they would be better off on their own, or that they had a more powerful thing or creature that they could follow and be rewarded from. And some of them turned into cultists. And that's one of the cultists you see here. There's going to be some storylines you're going to have to investigate on that front.
Alright guys, that will be all for today. Subscribe for more Ashes videos.